So it's like the day after Halloween, and yesterday on Halloween, it snowed like 2 inches here, which was just fantastic.
Was not ready for that.
Anyway, I wanted to show you guys something new, something kind of cool, something unique, not expensive, not high end, just something kind of cool. So let's take a look.
This is my Palmetto State Armory dedicated 22 upper receiver, which has been mated to the Mag Tactical Systems magnesium alloy lower receiver, the MG-G4. It's built to look like the M4 that I had in the service. So a quick search on the internet, you're going to find out that this lower receiver doesn't have the greatest reviews. Now, you know, just because one or two show up on a forum somewhere saying that somebody broke the thing doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, and it definitely depends on what application you plan on using it in. So I don't plan on jumping out of any helicopters with this thing, but I do plan on having some fun in the backyard. So I thought, hey, let's give this sucker a try, right? There are some things that I like about it. There's some things that I don't like about it. Some things I don't like about it is that it has proprietary trigger pins. They're longer. The thing has been machined or forged in such a way that it has reinforced trigger pin holes. You can see that they're raised on both sides, and because of that they have to have longer trigger pins. So if you are a anti-walk pin guy, you can't use them on this. Not that you really need those anyway. If you assemble your rifle right or it's machined right, you shouldn't need those, but you can't use them on this receiver. So that is a gripe that I do have about this. Another gripe that I have is that when trying to assemble your magazine release, there is no room to get this thing seated deep enough to actually feel like it's assembled right. So trying to put this in, you can see how deep this hole is until you hit, you know, the actual release. There's too many threads left over. This thing's barely seated in the lower receiver. It just barely clears the edge. I'm not a big fan of that. I like it to be recessed more, and really the threads come out to the end of the button, but I can't get it there because the way this thing is made, unless there's some other kind of release out there that has a different type of assembly, I cannot get this to go in as far as it needs to be. And this is just a regular mil-spec lower parts kit, you know. So I do like about this though is that it's a magnesium alloy, so it's 35% lighter, according to the company, than a regular aluminum receiver. And by all accounts, it is. I mean, by feel and messing with this thing for a period of time now, it's definitely lighter. So that is a plus side. I am building this on a 22 dedicated upper for my kids to shoot, so they can have some fun in the backyard where you know, I don't want to shoot anything loud back there, just to try not to annoy the neighbors. Even though they said they don't care, I just like to be respectful. So we built a 22 with it, and we can have fun all day in the backyard for, you know, for cheap. So I built this to just kind of resemble what I carried in Iraq, and you'll see the upper that I'm mating it with, and you can see what I'm talking about. So other than the two gripes there, proprietary pins and no good way to assemble the mag release, I don't have any issues with this. The manufacturer does give you some warnings if you're going to bead blast this thing to Cerakote it or anything, that the magnesium could ignite. So you have to be conscious of that if you're a guy that likes to Cerakote. That is something you have to worry about with magnesium. So not something I had ever really considered, but I guess I'd have to if I decided to Cerakote this. So it's made in Newburgh, Indiana, this particular lower. Some of the manufacturer information on some of the different websites says that Fostech is making this. Now Fostech's out of Seymour, Indiana, so I'm not really sure how accurate that is, but it is saying that Fostech is providing these to some of the distributors anyway. So I'm a big fan of Fostech. I love their Echo triggers, and I would love to put an Echo trigger in this.
and we'll make it a binary 22. That would be a lot of fun. So let's look at the upper, and we'll see how it runs.
So this is the receiver that I ordered from Palmetto State Armory with a 15-inch free float M-LOK lightweight rail. It's really nice. It's just not what I wanted for this build, so I removed it and I put it on a rifle for a friend and put the GI parts back on mine. So obviously this is not the 22 upper that I ordered, right? Well, at least it's not anymore because I changed it. It came with a lightweight 15-inch free float rail on it, and it came all the way to like here on the flash hider, which I was like, I'm not really sure my barrel's 16 inches. It is, I measured it, but it didn't look right. And plus, I thought, man, it would be fun to have something like I had in Iraq, you know, the old Colt M4 with a Knights Armament rail. Now, this is not a Knights Armament rail, it's a cheap knockoff, but this is the 22, so who cares? So I took all that apart, and PSA, whoever puts on your barrel nuts is Hercules. So be careful taking those off if you should happen to want to do what I did. Anyway, so I took the free float rail off and I put on a regular Delta ring and regular mil-spec barrel nut and regular mil-spec front sight post, and I put my little mini quad rail on here and a little forward grip just like I had in the service. And now the rear sight and the optic are not like I had in the service, but it's an inexpensive build. I got this upper with the 15-inch rail on it for like $279 before all the tax and shipping. But anyway, so this is basically a CMMG design bolt carrier group. Now I don't know if CMMG actually makes these or not, but it's pretty much the same design, right? It's not the chromed one, but it works just fine for what I want to do with it. There are some adapters. Like I said, if I wanted to use it with a Fostech Echo trigger, that would allow it to, you know, simulate like an M16 bolt carrier group. Now it's all built in. It's all one piece. There's no buffer tube or buffer spring required in your lower receiver because this has everything built into it. So it goes on into your receiver and just sits flush against the back of the receiver, and your lower closes up on it. One of the things I did have an issue with this bolt carrier group, or this 22 dedicated upper, is charging handles. So I had a Fortis clutch charging handle that I just had laying in my toolbox. I put it in there, and because of that charging handle, it would not fire. The trigger would, you know, release the hammer would strike the firing pin would barely engage the shells, and it was all because it wasn't all the way in battery because the charging handle was in the way. So you have to know that charging handles can be an issue. Now, granted, Fortis clutch charging handles, in my experience, I've had 3 of them now. I don't know why I ordered 3 of them. They're absolute junk. They're garbage. They are not the same fit and finish. The machining is kind of sporadic on them. Not something I expect from a company like Fortis, but that is what it is. So they have not wanted to mate with several receivers. They wouldn't fit, or they wouldn't latch because the latches themselves were all different tolerances. So Fortis clutch, stay away from those. This is just a regular mil-spec charging handle that I put in here. One of the problems I have had with it is that for some reason there's a casing that can get lodged in between the charging handle and your bolt here, right in between. And so whenever it goes to feed the next round, there's a casing stuck up in the top of your receiver. Now CMMG makes a charging handle that's supposed to remedy this. I have not got a hold of one to try it yet. This thing is a little bit picky on ammunition, which most semi-automatic 22s are, but I have been using the CCI mini mags, CCI Stingers, or CCI standard velocity, and they've been working fine. This is just the regular standard velocity ammunition. It's round nose, that's kind of a big factor here, but it likes those. So I can cycle a whole mag as long as I don't get a casing stuck up in there, which has only happened to me once.
and everything runs great. The hotter the ammunition, the better it runs. But the CCI standard velocity has been working fine. I've tried some Remington Golden, some different cheaper, just hollow point ammo I had laying around for some of the other 22s that we have, and they do not cycle. It does not like them. Either they're too low powered or they just jam because the shape of the bullet itself. So they just like to lodge up in there and jam the gun all up. So I would recommend just something round nose and higher velocities to work in this rifle, and you should be pleased. The fit and finish on this, the tolerances are very close, so it's an extremely tight fit. You might notice no buffer spring. You don't need them for the 22, so why spend the money and put it in there, right? But I can easily take this lower, put that in there, and put it on an AR-15 of any other caliber, and it will work just fine. So front pin, easy. Back pin. Now, receiver wobble, there isn't any. There's none. I've never had a low-end receiver not have wobble in it. I'm extremely pleased with that, especially for a little 22. So, hey, maybe this thing will deserve a scope one day. But right now, it's just a plinker for me and the kids. So let's take it outside. We're gonna use a CMMG magazine, 25 round magazine with CCI standard velocity ammunition. It's 40 grain bullet. Says it's running at 170 feet per second. So we'll go see how it works. All right, so honest review, this is something I built for me and my kids to plink with. I've had to tinker with different kinds of ammo, have a little bit of issues with the magazine, bring the next round up to get loaded. So I did have a malfunction, which wasn't really a weapon malfunction, it was a magazine malfunction. Load 20 in there, it seems to cycle just fine. Maybe you start pushing them in there tighter and tighter though, and it doesn't like to feed right. My battery was running dead on my phone, so I didn't get to record me actually hitting the target, but you can hear it. There's just a little 22 metal swinging target out there that me and the boys like to shoot at. And anyway, it's I haven't got to put a scope on it or sit down and put holes on paper, but the metal plates on that target are, they're a bit about 2.5 inches wide. So at 25 yards, just standing up shooting them. There isn't any issue with the red dot or with the iron sights that are on it. It's a lot of fun. We all get a kick out of it. I'm not planning on squirrel hunting with this rifle or anything like that. So I hope you enjoy it. I think that the quality is there. I think it probably has decent accuracy, but I won't know until I put a scope on it and get it on a bench. But anyway, so magnesium lower and PSA upper, stripped of all the crazy stuff, and just put it back the way that I had it in the service. Just makes me happy. So it's a nostalgia thing. It's fun. I want to get some like old rail panels like the Knights Armament came with and put them on there and just make it look like the one I had. So whenever I can, you know, show my boys pictures, they can hold this thing and go, yeah, this is like Dad's rifle, you know. And I mean, pick up an M1 Grand and go, man, Granddad had one of these. It just makes you happy. So that's why I put this together this way. Everybody enjoys it in the family. It's fun to shoot. It cycles well with the right kind of ammo, with the right kind of mags. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. It's kind of just random stuff that I enjoy to do. I want to share with you. So if you're trying to decide whether you want to build a 22 AR or in the future, I'll show you a side charging AR, some different things like that. Different rail systems, different triggers. If you've got questions, you want me to try and review something that you're interested about, either I'll have it or had it, or I'll try and get a hold of it. Because I like to build rifles. It's my big hobby. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that maybe if you have kids and you like to, you know, shoot inexpensive ammo, that this may be a viable option for you. That magnesium lower was only like $36, and the upper was $279 on sale. And a lower parts kit with generic GI parts is barely anything at all. So you can have a pretty good little plinking rifle for you and the kids that just makes you feel happy every time you pull the trigger because it's an AR. And, you know, and you can enjoy that with your family. Have people over and, you know, and pull that out, and they're all gonna go, wow, what's that? And you're gonna, that's a 22. It's a lot of fun. It doesn't weigh anything. It's easy to shoot. Doesn't have any kick. That's why the kids like it so much. It's not a scary gun, even though the wife enjoys shooting 22s. I hope you think that that may be a viable option for you and your family, not as a home defense, but just for as you know, backyard fun. Anyway, I hope to share some different kinds of videos in the future, some about faith and about family, and I'll just try and keep it happy. I don't like to be drugged down by the troubles in this world. They're all in God's hands, and we can't control them. And some of those things, the reason I believe this and that I understand that this is true is some stories I hope to share with you in the future. So some of these videos that I will post are not going to be about guns. They're going to be about God, and because God is very important to me. And when you hear my testimony, when you hear my story about how I came to love God, you'll understand. So that'll probably be the next video that I share with you. I hope that you will take the time to watch it. So, Christ is King. Take care of your families. And love your country. So.